Hi there. Do you feel like as the small business owner, you're working 50, 60 hours a week, but yet you're not able to effectively grow your business? And it just seems like even after all those hours, you still just have a plethora of tasks that you need to complete. And it feels like if you're just playing catch up. Well, you're not alone. I see that with a lot of small business owners to where they feel like even after all that time and work, they don't feel like that they still have the time for the most important thing. And one of the common themes there I notice is that they don't delegate effectively, right? All the tasks are being approved by them, or they're in charge and responsible for so many different tasks to where they don't have the time to effectively work on the most important task. And that really turns them into the main bottleneck that's limiting their business growth. So today I want to share some practical steps and tools with you that you can start using to start effectively delegating, either to somebody within your team or somebody outside of your company, so that way you can get your most valuable resource back, which is your time. Only you can complete some very high level important tasks as the owner of the company that nobody else can do. And if you're so busy doing everything else, then how do you expect to grow your business? You simply can't be the best at everything. We just need to be great at the most important things that add the most value to our business and growing it. The rest of it, we got to think how we can delegate it. Before we kind of get into delegation, I just want to quickly cover some common myths, right? A lot of small business owners, why don't they end up doing it, right? First common reason is they just haven't thought about it, right? They just been stuck in the way of how they're doing things, and they always done it that way, so they just kind of stuck with it unless somebody from the outside kind of points that out to them and sheds that light on them. So first of all, it is effective. It does work. You just have to start to learn how to do it. And the second common reason is nobody else can do it like me, and just I have to be the one to do it. And that's that's BS as well. Like have they even taken the time to train somebody on how to do that task and then reviewed it with them that how it was supposed to be done, right? Even if it's good as 80% as you, imagine all the time that you're going to get back that you can then dedicate to the more important task, and that's going to help you grow your business forward. So now let's get into kind of the 3-step process or 3 different things that you need to remember as you're trying to delegate a task. First thing is that it has to be the right person for the right job, right? Depending on how big your company is, how big your team is, then you make sure that depending on the task, if it's a really analytical task, don't give it to somebody that's more on the creative end on your company. Give it to somebody that has that type of skill set. And then second part of being the right person is that it matches their skill set. And then you have to be able to trust them. You believe that they will do a good job of it, right? That they have high level of integrity. So that's the first part, making sure it's the right person with the right skill, okay? And then if you don't have the right person within your team, then this is where you look outside, see what external, vendor or a third-party service that you can use that can then complete the task for you, right? This is where, you can use Google, and now with the AI tools, you can look up like, hey, this is a task that I need to complete. What service can do this? And unfortunately, it takes some work on the front end, right? You have to find the right service. You have to take the time to research them to make sure that they'll be a good fit for you and it's going to fit into your budget. And then from there, once you have that service, then we get into the second step. Second step, once you have the right person within the company or outside of the company, right, whether that's a virtual assistant or a bookkeeper or whoever might that be, you have to set clear expectations and create some kind of SOP, a standardized operating procedure. So what does that mean? Clear expectations, you tell them crystal clearly what is it that they need to be done, how do you want it done, and when do you want it done by, right? There should be no miscommunication or misunderstanding on that. And then again, don't just explain it verbally, document it for them, right? This is how you do this task. And again, be open to feedback. If they have a better way of doing that task, as long as it gets the job done and achieves the end result, then do give them that freedom to where they don't feel like that they're just forced to do this task in a set way. Because at that point, you're limiting the efficiency within your company, right? So give them the freedom to, improve the task as long as that's okay with you and it achieves the end result. And then, you can modify the SOP. And one big important factor of setting clear expectation in the second step here is that we have to explain the why to the person that you're delegating the task to, right? Especially if it's somebody within your team, within your company. A lot of times people, if they don't have a clear why on they're doing something, they're more likely to just not be fully invested or into doing that task well. Some people are really smart and they can connect the dots and they can figure out like, okay, oh, this is why this is important and how it fits into the overall big picture of the company. But it has been proven by science and a lot of research that people are a lot better at doing the work, and they're a lot happier doing the work when they understand why and how it adds meaning into the overall company, and they want to be adding value. So take the time to explain the why to them as well as you're setting the clear expectation. All right. So now the last step. Last step is, you have the right person, you know that you can trust them and that they're competent. You set clear expectations. You have documented it for them. So then the third step is taking the time to review and give feedback. Especially the first few times that they're doing that task, just have them, do a quick check-in with you. Hey, how did it go? And they'll let you know how it went. And depending on that, give them some constructive feedback, right? Like you don't need to be, super meticulous here. Like if they did overall a great job, give them a pat on the back and call it a day. But you do have that review for them, so that way they know that they have the support on if they weren't sure how to do it well or they got stuck on something, they can come to you for answers. And again, that takes more time a little bit on the front end, but after they do that task a handful of times, then they're going to be great at it and they might even do it better than you. And the other part of reviewing and giving feedback is that you give them a metric that you're measuring the success by, right? So for example, all the invoices are sent out by 5 p.m. with 0 errors or something along those lines, depending on the task. And then, that's essentially it. Those 3 steps are going to give you so much of your time back to really grow your business more. All right, so that's the 3-step process. I hope it's helpful for you, and I want you to really think about, how much time you're spending on doing these tasks that are not adding direct value to your business growth or your revenue. Look at your schedule this week, see what's one task that you can have somebody else from your team do it, and figure out an action plan on how you're going to train them, who is it going to be, right? And what exactly that they need to do, and how you're going to review it. And again, you do that with a few different tasks. Imagine how much more time you'll get back to grow your business. And at that point, you start going from just, this one self-employed person that's doing everything to more of a real business owner that have a team. Like I said, initially on, depending on the size of your business, your resources, especially money-wise, that might limit how much you can delegate. But again, as your revenue grows, start to improve your systems, and a big part of that is being able to delegate more, especially outsourcing. There's so many different companies that can do a service for you. They can handle phone calls for you, they can handle obviously bookkeeping for you, and there's softwares for that. So use that as much to your advantage as possible. This is my closing challenge to you. Don't let your business consume you, right? You should work efficiently as much as you can and use delegation as much as you can. So that way you have time for your family, you have time for rest and recovery. If you're just on this hamster wheel the whole time, then you're eventually going to burn out. And the research and data shows that, right? There's a lot higher risk of burnout with small business owners, or a risk of suicide and some other mental health issues. So please work more efficiently, and delegation is a great way to do that. So I hope it helps, and comment down below, what's going to be the one task that you're going to delegate this week. And if you have any questions on how to do it, reach out to me and I can help you walk through it. So I hope it helps, and take care.